Hello, welcome to the tennis once again. I'm Xavier Muhlebach, your host for the week. Filipino phenom wildcard Alex Eala is the giant killer in Miami, adding Iga Swiatek to her star-studded list of casualties. Fonseca fever. Hard Rock Stadium was pumping every time Joao Fonseca took to centre court this week. We're going to analyse the game behind the fame. And Olympic overhaul. Brisbane's Pat Arena is getting a major makeover. Tennis Australia CEO Craig Tiley joins us later, and he'll be covering all the big tennis storylines at home and abroad. But let's jump on in. Joining me this week once again is Queen of the Small Screen.
Screen?
Well, you know where my head went just then, Brie?
Stream.
No, the problem I have is Queen of the Small Screen. It sounds like you've got an OnlyFans.
Oh.
Yeah. No,
I don't.
Good. For our
Sad.
fans at home, you're just going to stick
Good
to
to
YouTube.
be here.
Just crossing out smallest screen. We're going to get it on desktop as well.
Stay tuned.
Anyway, welcome back. You good?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks.
That's great. And across the table from me, we've got two coaching superstars fresh off the plane from Miami. It's Nicole, Pratt and Simon Ray. Welcome, guys.
Great to be here.
Hey, Zave. Hey, Brie.
Is it? You
Yeah.
look scared of me. I'm sorry.
Well, yeah, this is different. There's a different vibe, but I'm open to, a chat, and we'll see.
Okay, excellent. Good. How was the flight home? Who got the best seat on the plane?
I reckon Pratty would have had the best
I
seat.
got upgraded, actually.
Of course you did.
I used my points,
Yep.
and when I got that text the
Isn't
night
it the-
before,
Brilliant,
I was just, yeah.
Yeah, there's only three things that are amazing at the airport. One is getting that text. Second is the gate upgrade. When you're about to board,
Yeah.
you scan the thing, it goes bonk, bonk, and you think you're about to be deported.
Yeah.
And suddenly they're like, actually, we've found a better seat for you.
I don't think that's ever happened to me.
That's right. We'll keep with your smaller screen and maybe you'll get there.
Yeah.
Well, we'll jump into the biggest news of the week. Wildcard, Alexandra Eala. She beat her third consecutive Grand Slam champion at Miami just overnight. Huge news.
Yeah, not just anyone. Iga.
Yeah, the Iga.
Amazing news, isn't it? And I went back and did a little bit of homework on Eala. And so often, these outstanding stories that we see play out, there's some clues if we track back in time a little bit. So Alex Eala, 2005 birth year, meaning she's turning 20 over
19,
the
yeah.
course
Little
of
19-year-old.
this year somewhere. In 2020, as a 15-year-old, though, from a junior tennis perspective, she's ranked number 2 in the world. And Pratty will be able to back me up here. So often we see that these elite talents are nearly always, not always, but nearly always some of the best junior players in the world. So that was certainly the case with Eala. Makes the semifinals of Roland Garros at 15 in 2020, talking the junior edition, obviously, and wins the US Open at 17 from a girls' singles perspective. And then we know that the story changes a little bit because then it is taking some time to have the big breakthrough, which we've just seen play out in front of us this week. So in 2022 at 17, she's ranked 219 in professional tennis. 2023 improves 30 spots, 189. 2024 40 spots, 143. And now, 2025 on the live rankings, 75. So we know there's elite talent there, and maybe Pratty can give some insight into what that breakthrough kind of consists of. There's elite talent, then it takes some time. Then the grind starts. Then it's kind of shoulder to the wheel for a number of years. And all of a sudden this week, and you've outlined the quality of the wins, not just the wins, the quality of the wins, and she's away with a bullet to 75 in the world and evidently going to go much higher.
Yeah, what's your take, Pratty?
Definitely can back up Simon there with the fact that, the junior results are definitely an indicator of future senior success. So the numbers there show pretty much are evidence that she was going to get there, but it's taken some time. I'll never forget, I was watching actually at Roland Garros last year. She was playing against Taylor Preston. Taylor Preston was all over her, destroying her. And the thing that stuck out for me was, I think, her resilience, her resolve, when she really didn't have an answer to Taylor. But anyway, she just hung there. She stuck with it. Her attitude is amazing. I would say maybe you could argue training out of the Nadal Academy.
Yes.
That's something that's instilled in the players there about, the work ethic, the resilience piece and the belief piece. If you keep working hard enough, then good things are going to happen. So, no, it's a huge breakthrough for her and, she's a sweetheart as well. So it's great to see one of the nice players come through also.
More of those, please.
Yeah,
and she's put Filipino tennis on the map.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But look at the scalps. I mean, Madison Keys
Yes.
has been untouchable
Phenomenal.
pretty much this year.
Yeah, but she's just like a little one. She moved to Mallorca at 14 to go to the Rafa Academy. And funnily enough, I've got a picture here that was floating around. Her graduating from the Rafa Academy, and then a special guest in attendance was Iga Swiatek. Her most recent scalp. Just nuts. It's like, whoops, maybe
And
shouldn't
did you
have gone.
see too, Tony Nadal was in her box today when she played, which is obviously Rafa's uncle, who used to be his coach. He really drives the academy these days for Rafa. But yeah.
Wow, kingmakers, the whole family.
Yeah.
Huge. Staying with Miami for a moment, I thought we'd jump into what's caught your eye. This is a segment where every week we look at what has been happening in the tennis world. Pratty, what's caught your eye this week in the tennis land?
Well, I think it's caught everyone's eyes, Fonseca in Miami.
Obrigado.
Listen, it was phenomenal. The crowds were phenomenal. We're talking about Miami being northern Brazil. The amount of Brazilians, they're selling Brazilian T-shirts out in the merch store. There's Brazilians everywhere. So anyway, in his second round match, he was playing, I think he was out on grandstand that only has 3,000 people. Well, what happened was there were 3,000 people outside waiting to get in, which was a security risk. Yeah. So they actually had to shut the match down, and the only place they could put it was in the centre court. So what happened is all the Brazilians that had lined up to watch the match were then told it's moving to centre court, that they'd have to buy a centre court ticket. So they went over to the centre court, started yelling, booing, and then they had to disrupt the Draper match, pull that off the court because the fans wouldn't stop. Yeah. So it is just it's craziness.
Wow. Bit of football fanaticism.
Yeah, but it's we're talking superstar, absolute superstar.
And we saw a taste of it here, right? This Australian Open, but that sounds even more next level.
It was nuts. It was nuts. It was actually nuts. Like I'd actually never heard of a situation like that before.
Yeah,
I kind of love it.
I do too.
Yeah. He's a good kid, and he was, as Brie said, really great here in Melbourne. Yeah, I mean, if we could just keep the security risk to a low but the fandom high, that'd be good.
What do you think is next for him, Pratty, and Simon?
Oh, he's going to fly. I mean, Simon will break his game down, but I just, even in the first round match against Lerner Teen, that match was phenomenal. It was 3 sets, and it was a battle, and they've come through the juniors as well. Yeah. But I just love how he enjoys the game so much. Like I don't know, all the different moments where someone's challenged, it's almost like he enjoyed the challenge. Yeah. And he wanted the challenge because that's where he's going to step up. And you can talk about where he steps up.
Go on, Razor.
Well,
talk about it.
Yeah, I think Pratty makes a great point. You can talk about the numbers and break down the game all you like, but that ability to walk towards, I guess, the pressure and the discomfort, that's so often the differentiator between the elite, the real champions of our sport, and the rest of us. And I think that's an outstanding point that Pratty makes. So to have a look behind him, well, I think that's the first thing that I see when I look at this guy, that want to have the spotlight on him and to back his big game, back his weapons against anyone down the other end. So he's okay to go down, and we've seen some ups and downs, more ups than downs, but we saw him win that title on clay during the South American swing, then go out first round the following week. We saw him at Indian Wells lose to the eventual champion, Jack Draper. Then he goes to Phoenix, plays a challenger the next week, which is basically as strong as a tour event, wins that challenger in Phoenix, and then Pratty's spoken to some of the circus in Miami that's followed him around there and speaks to the quality of Alex de Minaur's win over him, in fact, to get that done. And Demon, I think, backed up exactly what Pratty was saying, wrote on the camera, nice to get a win, I think, at the Rio Open.
Yeah. I thought that was quite funny. Yeah. A lot of people found it rude, but I was like,
he's just having a laugh.
Aussie sense of humour. I was loved it.
Good on him. Yeah. Talking about overcoming that adversity. But in terms of this guy's game, well, the top 10 players in the world, okay, just looking at the top 10, they average 100 and high 150s, 159, 158, 159 on second serve. Okay, that's normally the serve that you want to make sure you get in, right? You don't want to cough up double faults. This guy hits his second serve at 170 kilometres an hour as an 18-year-old. Forehand speed, top 10 average, 127. This guy's 132. And Pratty's heard me talk about some of these figures before. How about spin? 2,800. The best players in the world, 2,800. How many revs on the ball? So this guy's 3,050. That means he's not just getting you for speed on the forehand side. He's getting you for spin as well. Normally, when you add one, you've got to take off a bit of the other. This guy's the whole package. Wow. On serve, he's going after the ball. On forehand, he's not going to die wondering. And we've spoken about his want to grab a hold of the moment and to win or lose on his terms, dictating the play. Go down on the terms that he's comfortable with. So The Demon match in particular, if you want to get into that, I think it speaks to the quality of that win from Alex de Minaur to kind of put a stop to all of that momentum that Fonseca had going into that contest.
Yeah. Pratt, I wanted to ask, how many numbers does it take when Simon's telling you all these numbers and stats? How long until your eyes glaze over?
Yeah, pretty quickly.
And go, whoa.
No, I love the numbers.
Okay, you're a stats head. Good.
Yeah, I'm a bit of a stats nut myself, so I actually really enjoyed listening to that.
Oh, good.
But I think where he's going to make his biggest gains, and I still feel like there's a bit of a gap here, is physically.
Yeah.
He...
I agree.
How can I say, he's a little soft in some areas where he can harden up. Like you get that real
Muscular,
lean.
do you mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he needs to develop that real lean muscle mass. And then, when he gets towards, we've got to remember, the Indian Wells and the Miamis, they're the 2 week events, right? And the slams are the 2 weeks events. And it takes a toll on the body. So, that's an area where it's exciting that he still has that growth there.
Well, I was going to say, having those little elements of growth. So if he was at 5 out of 5 on a ranking for every single element, there'd be nowhere to go.
Yeah.
But by having
he's
those...
young.
Yeah, exactly. Still heaps of time. So if he's already nailing certain things and he's got capacity for improvement on others, this kid's going to absolutely knock it out of the park.
Yeah. Yeah.
Bit of a different question for both of you. So Alex obviously overcame Fonseca.
Yep.
Played well. What did he have in the Fonseca match that he didn't have when we watched him play yesterday?
Well, I'm pleased you've
Well done, Brie.
asked that, Brie, because
you.
in the Demon match, typically, and this is, Paddy will be able to speak to this again, this is often the case. Sometimes when you have identified a strength in an opponent, which in Fonseca's case is the forehand, we've spoken about that a lot, what you may do down the other end is actually attack directly into that wing, okay? Because a lot of times those players that have got dominant forehands, they love time on the ball. They love to be able to shift to their left, so getting into the technique and the tactics, if you like, a little bit more now. And their most dangerous forehands are hit from the centre third of the court or even from the backhand side of the court. Demon in this match served a lot of times under pressure on the juice court, straight out wide to the Fonseca forehand, drawing him to his right. The thinking there being, if I draw him to his right, I'm going to increase my chances of finding his backhand on shots 2, 3, and 4. Did a great job of that. And the other thing, and we know about Demon's quality on second serve return.
Yep.
He really made a big inroads. We spoke about the speed of the Fonseca second serve, but Demon really, in sets 2 and 3, when he turned that match around, he hardly won a point on second serve, Joao Fonseca. And Demon did it through a variety of ways, through mixing things up. He went back in the court, a long way on second serve return. Other times he's standing right up or inside the baseline. So he changed the look that he was giving Fonseca, and we know about his ability to pinpoint targets on second serve return, starved him of time, and really made inroads, made Fonseca uncomfortable in that way in that match.
God, what a journey. Anything else catch your eye over at Miami?
Well, the only other thing I'd say on Fonseca, we spoke about success leaving clues. There's another number 1 ranked junior in the world. At 17, okay, number 1 ranked junior in the world. So for those tennis lovers out there listening in, take a look at the junior rankings right now, because those players that are ranked top 5, top 10 in the world in both the boys and girls, I'd nearly guarantee, stop short of a cast iron guarantee, but I'd nearly guarantee your elite champions in the next 5-10 years are coming from that cohort right now.
And when you're at a Grand Slam, go check out the juniors tournament.
Well, I think, just speaking of Miami, what else caught my eye? You know, Victoria Mboko, who is a player that, now there's another, I think, young player on the rise. So I watched her play Paula Badosa out there in Miami.
Right.
Now, she doesn't hold back on the ball. Just put a little asterisk next to her name, okay? She's got some power and some weapons off both wings. She came within a point or two of knocking off Paula Badosa. I think it was out on court 1 that day when I sat there and watched. There's a star on the rise, I think. We've spoken about Eala a little bit already. We've spoken about Fonseca. So just adding Victoria and Mboko is one to keep an eye on.
There you go, one to watch.
In that same regard.
Very good.
Yeah.
Thanks, brother. Brie, what's catching your eyeballs over there in Miami?
Well, I love Andreeva, and sadly she was defeated by Anisimova, who has now since been defeated also and is out of Miami. But I did quite enjoy a little bit of rivalry, whether or not it was sportsmanship, questionable. But Andreeva did question a medical timeout that Anisimova had during their match play because she had a blister on her finger, and she questioned it. And then Anisimova did bite back on Instagram, indicating that there was a blister and it was her middle finger, and it was very like,
oh, here it is.
Here it is.
Right.
So I quite liked that and found it quite funny. And I know we're also an audio medium.
hence the
I am
microphones.
putting my rude middle finger up whatever you call it, the bird. So I kind of, look, whether or not Andreeva enjoyed it, I'm guessing Anisimova did enjoy her humour.
Yeah.
With doing that on Instagram.
Oh, we've got to have a laugh.
I know.
People
And
take
I
things
kind
so
of like a little
seriously.
bit of rivalry.
Yeah. You've got to have the storylines
Because
off
the
court.
women are always so nice and they're all friends.
Brady's there laughing going, really?
Well, most of them, right?
Yeah.
Like we always see them
When the camera's rolling.
hugging and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, a little bit of, flipping the bird.
Yeah, well,
I'm here for it.
they'll be playing each other in year out. They're both two high quality players. It's great to see Anisimova back.
Yeah, it is, isn't it?
Oh,
Yeah.
Can you just really stoke the flames on that rivalry for us? That'd
Yeah.
be great when you're out there on the road.
Yeah, I'll try.
Cool.
I'll try.
Thanks.
Doesn't sound like she needs to.
Give her a few blisters. She can learn the banjo. That's the best way to
How
learn a
about
blister.
you, Zave?
Look, I
What
really-
caught
I
your
wa- I
eye?
want to
'Cause
keep
I'm
this highbrow.
loving this, yeah.
Well, really highbrow, real high interest in like the on-court
tennis.
shenanigans.
Yeah.
The tennis. You know what's really great at the tennis at the moment? Courtside bars. They're popping up everywhere. We had one at the AO. A few players had some thoughts about it.
I think we started it.
We
to
did
be
really
honest.
kicked it off. We're innovative
Yeah.
here. But the one in Miami, geez, it looked fun. Either of you
No,
head in
it
there, the
was
courtside
not
bar?
fun. I've got a story on that one.
Yes, I
So
knew you
Kim
would.
Birrell was out playing a qualifying match.
I was wondering if you
And
were gonna
I
go here.
swear it was, I couldn't think. It was
Wow.
that loud coming, the music from the bar. It was off the charts.
So what
Really?
you're
Like
saying
off
is
the charts.
for a punter, phenomenal.
Yeah.
For a player or a coach, horrific.
I couldn't think, so
Yeah.
I can't imagine what the players couldn't think either. So actually, I had to send a message in to the referee and say, you have to turn this down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is way too loud, way too loud.
And did they?
They did.
Okay,
They did.
good.
But it was pumping.
Yeah.
It
Well,
was
it's funny
pumping.
because people were talking about Indian Wells being the Coachella of tennis. It sounds like this one is music festival vibes.
Oh, it's-
Miami.
yeah.
But I tell you what, there might be a few more middle finger emojis going up with that. And that's it for what's caught your eye for this week. Anything else from Miami, folks, before we roll on with the rest of the show?
Well, I thought, one thing for me in looking at Miami rolling off the back of Indian Wells was just the toll that the sport is taking on some of the best players, and also perhaps how even now we're finding both men's tennis and women's tennis. So having a look at the finalists from Indian Wells in the men's game. So Jack Draper, obviously the champion Indian Wells, Holger Rune, the beaten finalist or the runner-up. Both of those men out opening match in Miami. Okay.
Yep.
Then we're seeing things like 4 lucky losers. So we've got a story to tell about Adam Walton, who was one of the beneficiaries of that spot,
I
which
loved
is
that.
awesome, right?
Yeah.
But the fact that and I think this is actually a credit to where the sport's heading. So now, okay, previous to 5 or 10 years ago, where you go into an event under an injury cloud and you roll up, you go through the motions, potentially you take your paycheck, you may pull out at 4-1 down in the opening set and you're out of there. Now what you're doing is you're saying to the tournament organisers, hey, folks, I'm not right. I'll grab my second round prize money, thanks, Hubie Hurkacz, as the seeded player. But I'm just telling you, and I think it's the right thing. I'm
Yeah.
just telling you I'm not right. I'll take my second round prize money. I think you can do that 3 or 4 times over the course of the year.
Okay.
And someone gets a run as a lucky loser.
Yeah,
to
that's
put
great.
a better show on for the
Yeah.
customer, for the consumer, if you like. So I think that's working. But the talking point for me is, again, year on year, we seem to have the same conversation. Jesus, taking a toll. And it's so hard to be, and I think Pratty will be able to speak to the coaching challenge of this, able to repeat your success week on week. And again, I think that's another marker for the very best players in the sport versus the rest of the field. Can you find a way to minimize the gap between your best tennis and your worst tennis on any given day? And that, for me, perhaps more than any other measure, speaks of the progress that you might be making. Your best tennis, everyone's got a high level on their great days. But what's your bad level? And when that gap is small or smaller, that's indicative for me of real progress.
Yeah. So what are when players are on the tours, what are the key things that really can take the toll the most? Is it a combination of everything, or is it the travel, the match play, the training, the time
Schedule.
zones, schedules? It's
Yeah,
all-
I think it's a combination of everything. Like it's a 3-hour time difference from Indian Wells to Miami, and whilst it might seem, it's only 3 hours, it actually does take its toll
Yeah.
in terms of your sleep patterns. The conditions were very different in Miami versus Indian Wells. Miami, the courts were different, and then obviously you've got the humidity in Miami as well. So, and It's really interesting, the events in Indian Wells and Miami, because the top players have the buys in the first rounds. And so often they're not playing their first round match until sort of Thursday, Friday. And I feel like the tournament actually gets really squeezed and condensed.
Yeah.
So they actually don't have a lot of time off. And so for, two 1000s where it's like, oh, it's a 10-day, 2-week event, it's not like that at all for them. So yeah, I just think the matches get condensed, and I think the fact that like when you don't have days off, like if you're in a tournament, you're constantly on.
Yep.
There's no switching off. And I believe that's what takes its toll. And the best players, I think, manage themselves incredibly well with the people that they hang out with, in terms of just taking away all the noise.
Yeah.
Because that takes its toll.
Yeah.
Can I just bring up some other key things that have happened in Miami? Because I would love to get both your opinions.
Well, we've already covered the courtside bar. What else is there?
I'm trying to bring it back to the tennis.
Tennis.
Yep,
Well, that's
yep.
the name of the show, bar tennis.
So this morning, Arthur Fees knocked out Zverev.
Yep.
3-6, 6-3, 6-4. Novak is pushing through. He's nearing maybe completing his 100 singles titles if he wins Miami. We still have Emma Raducanu in.
Yeah, well, is this Raducanu's re-emergence? I mean, she had this the first time, a 1,000 event she's made the quarters.
Yeah.
3 years since her US Open win. Is there anything to watch there, or is this a blip?
I just think it's really interesting. Like the backstory on Raducanu was she trialled a new coach, Vlado Patinek, who had formerly coached Darek Kastakina and a number of other players. Very, very good coach. So she had lost early in Indian Wells, had been doing training with Vlado out there, and then also in Miami. And then all of a sudden, the day before a match, there's no Vlado.
Oh.
So then I'm like, oh, this is really interesting. Like, who's now coaching Emma? So it turns out that Mark Pecci, a commentator, has been over in the box, and Jane O'Donoghue, who had, works for the LTA, was there as well. She's been working consistently with her fitness trainer, Yutaka. But I thought that was really, really interesting. And I'm just wondering, was she challenged by some things that Vlado was working on? And it's worked for her, but I kind of feel bad for Vlado because he was out there grinding for the 2 weeks into Miami.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden,
He's gone.
Yeah, now he's gone. So now it's like it's kind of clicking. So yeah, that's a really interesting one for me. That one,
Strange.
really interesting one.
High turnover of coaching staff in that camp, that's for sure.
Yeah.
I imagine they'd have to look a certain way to attract some of the best coaches of our sport, given the kind of track record that's existed there for a period of time.
Is that the new normal? Like, is there more churn than ever before, or is it just there's more
Not to that extent.
No, not. I mean, Raducanu is probably number one.
the churner?
in regards to changing over coaches at the moment.
It's as
I
good as a
suppose you've got
holiday.
to be
I hear.
number one at something, don't you?
But you know what? I love that she's doing. I love that she's
she's
doing
a hell of a
well.
player.
Yes, it's good to see her
she's
back.
she's a superstar in our game, and it's great to see her back doing well
Absolutely.
because she's been struggling with injuries.
Yeah.
So no, it's terrific.
My last question to both of you. Will Novak win?
Well, I think he's looking the goods. I think he's clearly been pretty dominant through the
he has
opening.
been.
What are we now? Opening week or 10 days of the event. Sir Andy back in the camp through the hard court swing. They were putting in the hours. You
Yeah.
can see. Pratty's mentioned the really delayed start that the seeds have at those big events. And I thought, just on a slight aside, I thought some of Andy Murray's comments about coaching, I actually found that really insightful on his reflections from Australia, which, if I'm just to summarise, it was, I became obsessive. I've got that obsessive nature anyway. And I just sat in my hotel room and obsessed over the next opponent, trawled through hours and hours of video footage. And only by the end of the event did I start to realise, actually, this is not that healthy for me. I need to get in the gym. I need to go and hit some golf ball. I need to find an off switch, which I thought was a really interesting reflection. And the other thing which grabbed me, which I kind of applaud the honesty and the vulnerability. Communication, and I'm paraphrasing, communication for me has always been a challenge. And I found that, when you're the coach, and again, we've got one of the world's best coaches sitting in the room with us, that there's pulling the team together as well. So he was kind of putting his hand up going, I didn't do well there either. Like, you've got the physical performance coach to talk to. You might have the sports psychologist. You might have the analytics guy to talk to. And you've got to pull those threads together. Hey, what time are we leaving tomorrow morning? The left hand's talking to the right. Do we need to grab dinner? We've got an issue here in the camp we need to address. And he was kind of going, that wasn't my forte, and I wasn't expecting that to be the case.
Yeah.
And all eyes at times are on the coach to pull it together. I think Pratt does a phenomenal job of that, of kind of managing the dynamics of the team around what the player needs. So I just thought it was really interesting reflection, an honest reflection from one of the superstars of the sport as to the different challenge that coaching presents as compared to playing.
That's great. Well, Brie, I know you do have to run off soon, but before you go, how was it over there seeing Stormy, friend of the pod, back out there, back on the tournament courts over the past few weeks?
Yeah, very exciting to have her back out playing. And I guess it didn't go well to start with in terms of winning. She was on court and she was a little bit rusty in Austin, a little bit slow, but that was to be expected. And then I thought in Indian Wells, she actually played a really good match. Sam Stosur was out there because we obviously had the decision to make of who we were going to choose in the BJK Cup team. And, you know, Storm showed enough in the matches and the practices as well that she's back at that level. So, but she hadn't had a win because she lost first round in Indian Wells. So we get to Miami and, you know, the anxieties starting to get through the roof. And, so there was a change in the draw. They were meant to play Sigamond and Haddad Meyer. They pulled out. And so then they played Lynette and... Kremska. Yeah. So two good players.
Yeah.
And so to get that first win, that was the monkey off the back. She kind of relaxed after
that. Bit of a shakeout.
Yeah, and then obviously won her next match and then lost to the best doubles team in the world, Taylor Townsend and Senekova. So it was awesome. So the fact that she there were times there where she didn't want to hear it, that she was getting better every day. It was all about wins and losses. But got over that hurdle and it's awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome to have her back. And
that's so good.
Yeah, so the doubles, she's back and now we'll start sort of chipping away at getting her ready for singles as well.
We're 2 weeks out now from the BJK Cup in Brisbane. How are things looking for the team?
Yeah, great. I mean, Kim Birrell was consistent again, qualified in Miami, won a round, lost in a close three-set match to Kostyuk. And Maya Joint just, again, ticking away, getting wins. She's in Puerto Vallarta this week, still going strong. And Eala, a little bit of an injury with her pec muscle at the moment, but she's due to be playing in Charleston, so hopefully she's all good. And we've got Ellen and Storm in the doubles, so a great pairing to be able to rely on.
Yeah. I mean, the BJK Cup.
Yep.
Is, it's an amazing tournament. You've been there for many years. How do you think this tournament fits into women's tennis or tennis at large? And what's some of your favourite memories from the event?
Yeah, I think where it fits in for the Australians, which is awesome, is it's in the calendar. Like we actually, Sam and I had a conversation with Eila and because, she'd had some injuries and listen, we understand if it doesn't fit. She's like, no, it is in my calendar. That's a priority for me. So the fact that representing Australia is a priority for all of our Australian women is unreal.
Amazing.
It's unreal. It's unreal. Because they, again, we spoke about the rigours of travel and the demands and, they've got to take care of their own individual rankings. It's not always ideal to fly back to Australia in April. So, so I'm really proud where it's at for our Australian women.
And for such an individual sport, it's so great to have a team event that regularly.
It's great for us too, and it's great that we've got it here again as well in Brisbane.
But come on, what's your best memory, good or bad?
My best memory is when we beat the US actually in Asheville because, the Americans are pretty cocky.
Yeah.
And,
they're not.
they think they're the biggest and the best. And so, we pulled off. We obviously had Ash Barty in the team, which helps a lot. But, we went down to the doubles and we'd been sort of cat and mousing all week about who we were going to put in the doubles. And we sort of let the US team know that if they came and scouted us, it looked like we were going to put in Ash and Astra Sharma. And however, last minute we put in, but we'd be preparing her, we put in Brie Hon. And so Brie and Ash were playing the deciding doubles. They literally thought Astra was playing. So that's kind of muddled all their plans. And we won. And so it was so nice. And it was probably more the celebrations afterwards. Quite memorable actually also. Yeah.
You sure you remember them all?
I do remember. I don't know about our captain, Alicia Mollick, at the time.
Right.
Let's just say she had a great night.
Excellent. Great night, rough morning. Very good. Now, as I mentioned, you are about to run out the door and head for something else. Where are you going? Tell us all about it.
Well, I'm running out the door because I've actually got a Women's Coach Connect and a virtual series that we provide for women coaches for professional development. So I'm on the panel for that one.
I love that.
Giving my insights over the last sort of 4 weeks out on tour and how that relates to, back at the clubs as well for coaches.
God, that's great. How do people get involved in that one?
Well, if you're a coach member, you can sign up and be a part of, but it's all part of the women and girls strategy with increasing the amount of women coaches and providing programs for women coaches within Coach Connect. So
Amazing.
Yeah.
And just as a kind of a parting tribute to Pratty, she won't say it.
She's going to present at a thing. She's not dying.
Yeah, no. Just as she does head out the door, though. But being in Miami and kind of seeing firsthand again, Storm get the win, but then seeing the emotion on Stormy's face, sure, but on Pratty's face as well, in terms of, and it just reaffirms for me or reinforces for me the strength of connection between those two. And Pratty mentioned the importance of getting some nourishment from a win, and Pratty would have been really challenging Storm on, but where does the win come from? Process. But, the nourishment needs to come, right?
Yeah.
So it was really nice to kind of be behind the curtain in that regard. And what about the job that this woman's done with Kim Birrell? Because
incredible.
a few years back, Kim reached, might have been a couple of years back now, Kim reached a career high at that time of 100 on the button in the world, right? And after that, her ranking slid for a variety of reasons. Kim this week, I think, is on the live rankings, is at 61 in the world.
Amazing.
And chatting to Pratty in Miami, Pratty's not satisfied with that. She wants to go higher again. So the job that this woman continues to do with our best players and a couple of pivotal members of the BJK Cup squad there, I just tip my cap. I'm full of admiration for the work that she does.
I
with
agree.
Thanks, Simon.
Yeah.
And you
And I
see
can
it
tell that was
firsthand when you're
legit.
on the
He
road.
meant every bloody word
He
then.
does.
You can see when you're on the road, you can see the emotion and the connection and the way that Pratty's been able to challenge Kim and support her, and she's not finished yet, I guess is what I'm saying.
And it's so good to hear it from your words because you get it. So then we always thought you were good. But then to hear someone
Now
who
we
gets
know
it.
why.
Yeah. Now we've got a little bit more context.
A coach who cares.
Yeah, and sacrifice too, right? Like
Yeah.
I go
Total
for 10 or 11
sacrifice.
days to Miami, and it's hard.
Yeah.
My partner back here with 3 young kids, and no less of a sacrifice for Pratty to go for 3 and 4 weeks and go again to Europe. And so, I just want to applaud her commitment to her players.
Yeah.
I'll keep on keeping on that note, but
wrong
thank you,
button.
Simon.
You're welcome.
Found the right button at last. No, well, thank you very much, Pratty.
No,
So on the
pleasure to be here.
BJK Cup sales, tickets are available for the tie in Brisbane. Jump on a Ticketmaster. It sounds like it's going to be an absolute ripper. Thank you so much for joining us, Pratty. We'll let you go. You can head off to your coaches' conference. After the break, we'll have Craig Tiley, CEO of Tennis Australia, joining us and giving us his take on the world of tennis and the upcoming Olympics in Brisbane. Stick around. Welcome back to the tennis. Special guest joining us now. It is the one and only Craig Tiley, CEO of Tennis Australia and Tournament Director of the Australian Open. Welcome, boss.
Good to be here.
That's all right.
Again.
I'm calling this segment Career-Limiting Moves with Xavier Muhlebach.
You know what? I know you well enough that pretty much every time for you is a career
Exactly.
limiting move. So not just being on a podcast, it's any day.
9 years later,
Yeah,
still
9 years
going
later.
strong.
You have won.
Take that, company man. So, Craig, what have you been up to? You happy?
Happy. I'm always happy.
Okay, we've noticed that. That's
Yeah.
the happy slam, the happy boss.
Yeah, no, it's things are going great. Look, there's a lot going on internationally.
Yeah.
If you just read about it, whether it be lawsuits and I think it's all positive in the sense it's positive. It's about a situation being better for everyone, better for tournaments, better for players, and we're a great sport. Together with football, we're in every single nation in the world. We have a federation in every single nation. The 2 top sports global in participation are tennis and football. I love saying that because it puts everyone else in their place.
Yep.
And it's true. The facts are there. But we sub-optimize ourselves. We have 7 different governing bodies, each in many cases have different objectives. We have 4 shining lights, and those are the Grand Slams every year in London, Paris, New York, and of course Melbourne. And these are these are amongst the best, not just tennis events but sporting events globally. They can play a role in ensuring that the players have a great schedule, the fans have a great narrative, that they can understand where players go from A to B. The players are playing all the top events. The players have an off season. The players are compensated as best as we possibly can compensate them, and more. So it's a pretty simple outcome, but the challenge we do is when you have so many different governing bodies leaning in, is they're not spending time together to try and get to that outcome. So the things that are happening are probably going to be really good levers to force everyone to get to a point that's going to be better for the sport.
Well, it's been interesting. It's because all these organisations, governing bodies have their own kind of priorities and things they're working toward, and because of that lack of communication historically, they're almost been competing. But when you look at it, realise we're all rowing in the same direction.
Well, we are, because we're trying to, and different objectives. The International Tennis Federation, the objective of more growing the sport, so they work close to the federations. The WTA and the ATP, the professional arm on the tour, and they have a responsibility for all events. They have labour and management under the same umbrella, and that's always really difficult because you've got the players and you've got the tournaments. So that has worked. I think it works less effectively today than it did work when it was set up. People would argue against that. That's just my personal view. But it's been managed okay to this point. But what we do, we all know there's bigger opportunity. That's been very clear. The data it's irrefutable. The facts. There's bigger opportunity if you can have all these major improvements, and some of those improvements involve breaking glass. It's not just an incremental; they involve breaking glass, and that's why there's this frustration amongst the playing group on things not going in the direction that they'd hoped to go in. There's frustration on the tournament side that are we too crowded as an event? There's frustration on the fans. You ask a fan what's going on today in tennis, and only those diehards really know. The fans do know generally. The general fan knows when the 4 Grand Slams are happening, when the 4 Grand Slams are on. Then outside of that, it drops off a cliff as far as fan interest. And so we have to close that gap if we want the sport to keep growing. So everyone's in it for the right reason, which is great, and the right objective. But it's just like everything, human beings, the pain of change is greater than the pain of losing. So people prefer to lose than to prefer to change.
Just writing that down to embroider on a pillow. Very good. Well, speaking of change.
Yeah, like moving a little bit more closer to home here in Brisbane, we had a update this week about funding that's been secured for upgrades to the Queensland Tennis Centre ahead of our 2032 Brisbane Olympic Games. Why is this so important for us?
Well, this is the biggest infrastructure investment we've had since we had Melbourne Park back in 2010, I think it was. So it's fantastic. Great we got the games in Brisbane, and now that with Queensland Tennis Centre is a fantastic venue, and to have $130 million of additional funds put into. We do need a second court for the Olympic Games, but also for events that we're going to have up there. We do need more courts on the facility, on the venue, which we would have had to have anyway for the events that we're doing. We have some of our top athletes training up there as well, so we do need a facility that suits one of the best high-performance environments we can create globally. We also do need, which is currently got to be built into the scope, we are going to need at some point more seats in Pat Raft Arena, whether it be now or later, but at some point that's going to need to come up. So that's going to build into a magnificent facility. We'd like to see the same expansion in Sydney at some point. We've seen some great investment by the South Australian government into Adelaide for a venue that fits really well for the events that we have there. We're now working with Perth and WA government to get something there because we think that's missing for that. We've seen an upgrade in Hobart. We're going to see more of an upgrade coming up now with the launch systems come online. We had an upgrade in Canberra. So these are all great infrastructure investments, but the size of this one is significant. So we're very excited about it and very appreciative to the current Queensland government and to the federal government for any role that they played.
Yeah, amazing.
I just want to thank me for always believing in me and...
Yeah, thanks, Mira. You really put that well.
And now also...
Before we move on, if you had a few $100 million, what would you do to make Melbourne even better?
I would find a parking lot for you and your Tesla.
I've been asking for charging stations.
We need to hide that Tesla.
It'll find me.
Bit on the nose.
It does not respond to that one. Look, if for a start, we've got a great facility here, but like everything, you got to keep evolving, keep changing. And in many parts of our 3-week event, we've reached capacity, and we don't want to build a strategy of more people. We want to build a strategy of great experience for those people that come. And so that's we got opening week that we'll put more effort into. The third week put more effort into. But there's an opportunity for fans to come out and see tennis, see players, and we want that to be not only a memorable experience, but something that say they have to come back next year because that was so good. That was my best experience. Yeah. So like everything, got to keep evolving. So on the precinct over here, definitely we want to reduce the amount of temporary infrastructure we have to invest in. Multi-millions of dollars a year we invest in temporary infrastructure.
Yeah, just to rip it down again.
It is not a sustainable proposition. So whether it be facilities for broadcast, whether it be more, I've said to the team, I add another S actually. There's 3 S's. We need more seats, we need more shade, and we need more space. And then this week we add another S, we need more screens. Because screens translates to the virtual side of our business. That's off-site. So the off-site fan, more screens, more opportunity in those screens for the millions of people that watch it, or billions now that watch it, or that engage screens on your device or screens at home on TV. But yeah, so seat, shade, space, and screens are the catchphrases for what we need here to invest more in.
That's another pillow I need to order. Good. Well, sticking with the AO, dates have been not leaked; they've been announced for next year. Kicking off with opening week on Monday, the 12th of January, and men's final on the 1st of Feb. What have we got in store?
Well, really excited about 2026. We finally now, I always said we dominate January, now we're getting to dominate February.
Yeah,
that's just for this next year. But and then there's a little football event a couple of weeks after that in the US. But big football event.
So you're saying exclusive here, the Super Bowl will be played at Melbourne Park?
No, that would be good. There's something else obviously in Melbourne. 2026 is going to be brilliant. We've already spoken about some initiative, or internally some initiatives that we want to really give to our fans, and around making sure that we have more shade, more seats, more space. That's going to be something that we're going to grow. And there's going to be, again, 2 or 3 transformative initiatives that are going to completely wow fans. We're not going to announce those yet. At the right time, we'll announce those. And we want everyone's experience to be special. And those fans that came on site this year, we want them to be able to even see more tennis, get closer to the action. So we've got to create the site that provide enough content out there for them to do that. And then to have more opportunities to eat, more opportunities to get and enjoy our retail, and more opportunities to spend a lot more time on the precinct, and again go away and say, now that's what I want every sporting experience to be.
Love it. Well, on the tennis side of things, so the US Open, they were recently claiming they're elevating their mixed doubles by moving them into their opening week with some big name singles players playing in the doubles tournament. Are we doing anything to elevate our doubles?
We're not doing what the US Open are doing. I think that works very well for New York. It works well for the US Open. It works getting some big names to play those 2 days. We already have that, our opening week, and we'll see more of this way. So Monday, every night, there's going to be matches with the top players in the world. There'll be women playing, there'll be men playing. It'll be all the top players. It'll also extend into the afternoons. We'll play on the stadiums. We'll play on MCA. We'll play on Rod Laver Arena. So our fans for the opening week are going to get to see great players play matches against each other. And that works really well for us. And we've filled stadiums on that. You've the Novak Djokovic night, the Carlos Alcaraz, the Alex de Minaur night. We fill stadiums. And so we're going to see a lot more of that and announce a lot more activities around that for 2026. The mixed doubles championships that we currently have is 32 draws, 64 players, is really an important event for us to provide playing opportunities for our fans, particularly the end of the first week and the whole of the second week. So if we pulled out more matches on the second week and put them into the opening week of the first week, again, we just crowd the opportunity. So we definitely want to keep it that way. Aussies have traditionally done really well in the mixed championship. So I cannot see us changing the mixed doubles championships. We're looking at ways, we're sitting down with the doubles players, both the men and women's doubles players, and looking for ways that we can make even doubles more exciting. I'm a big believer in doubles. I think
multi-ball.
It could be that. You're one of the most creative people in the company. You come up with something. But
oh God, an endorsement.
There's from
Look at your ego.
Yeah,
what have you done?
That was great. Lift more.
But anyway, so that's an important championship for us. What I'd like to do is what we have within it. There's many things I'd like to see in the game. I'd like to see us take away the lets. I'd like to see us take away the warm-up. I'd like to see us obviously do some different things with scoring. I've always advocated for only one serve, but that's a pipe dream because that completely changes the game. But I think there's some things we need to do within the game that make it better, and then the way the game is played through doubles and mixed doubles. Now we can really blow it out the water, and you can play shorter sets, and I'm not a fan of that. The Grand Slams have a uniqueness where you play 3 out of 5 sets on the men's side, solid 2 out of 3 sets on the women's side, and there's an argument about men and women being paid the same, and there's only 3 sets and 5 sets. I don't buy that either because it's got nothing to do with the length of time on the court. It's got everything to do with the value that you bring to the sport. So I think we're in a good spot. I think if I asked the Aussie players what you want to do with mixed doubles and have the superstars play the first 2 weeks or keep it as is, I think they 99.9% will say keep it as is.
Yeah, I think that was Storm's takeaway when she was here.
Yeah.
So maybe you should ask them. So that's good. That'll be good data for me because I've had anecdotally asked them what they think, and and they've all said that they like what we've got.
Yeah, Storm definitely backed that up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right, Stormy, we've got you back.
Quick, what's your next
Oh,
question?
my next question, yeah.
Yeah.
No,
go.
well, so before Craig, you were CEO here and
Yes.
parking enforcement officer or whatever you're doing.
Yes.
You were a
Still-
tennis coach.
Still parking for
Yeah, doing a bit.
Yeah.
But I had no idea you were also a comedy coach. So Michael Costa,
Yep.
who is a former tennis player, which not everyone may know, but he's a correspondent, part-time host of The Daily Show in America, stand-up comedian.
Yeah.
He's written a book, Lucky Loser.
Yes.
Tell us about your knowledge of this tome that I'm holding up for our
that's fine.
YouTube viewers.
I did. I actually have read the book. He's done a great job with the book, and I've been on a long journey with Mike. He's a brilliant person, got a lot of talent, and even though he got, I think, to 868 in the world, whatever it was,
Which, as he says on the back, is, in parentheses, it's still better than you, meaning the reader of the book, which is a
Correct.
very good point.
Yeah,
People would
unless
scoff.
any player in their career got inside the top 800. But I know he was on Jon Stewart the other night, and it was very funny because he introduced himself. I don't know if it's 830, it's 868, whatever it is. And he introduced himself, and everyone laughed that's the highest he got to, and then everyone stopped laughing, and he said to them, he said, I don't think you should laugh because I am actually the most famous tennis player you'll ever meet. And the crowd, none of them met anyone else that's below that. So it's very funny. He's very funny. On our van trips coaching, and Razor, you know that in college tennis, he always used to be the funniest guy on the trip. And I actually do remember him. We were in California, and I think it was in his junior year. And we used to have these team challenges. And he always, it was a laugh a minute with Mike, but he's also a good tennis player. He did a good job on our team, and he always gives me a hard time about not playing him high, but he played where he should have played at the time.
Take that, Mike.
But I remember having a chat to him about it, and I said, you got an opportunity for other career in comedy, but one of the things we did in 3rd Street Promenade in Santa Monica when we were playing Pepperdine University is I challenged the team, and I said, each of you need to go out, and who can raise the most money busking in the next 2 hours on 3rd Street Promenade. Michael went and got a American Speedo, and that's all he wore. He stood on a soapbox, and he went through this whole soliloquy of and narrative, and he raised the most money. So I think it was something along those lines. I can't exactly remember what his comedy was, but he was always a funny guy. But he's having a great career. And I'm very proud of him and what he's created and what he's done. The journey he's been on is more difficult than it is becoming a tennis player.
Yeah, definitely. Well, you've done it right with your career too.
You just could work hard. I mean, there's no big secret to
When
it.
does that working hard for you start? Like, what's the time frame? Is that going to kick in soon?
Yeah, probably sometime next year.
Rolling in 11, long
year.
lunches.
I would shut up if I was you.
No. You got to push the boundaries on career-limiting moves.
He was high when we started. He's falling fast.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm
not,
okay
not
with
high.
that.
Yeah, not the high.
Because I got high.
Because I got Yeah, well, okay. Let's bring it back to base here,
Yeah.
peeps. To round us out for this week and every week, we do our thing called Ace of the Week. It doesn't have to be tennis-related. In fact, I prefer it wasn't. Brie, what's your Ace of the Week?
So Viv Christie, who is in my team.
And co-host
from
of...
Africa.
She's back from Africa.
I saw all the pictures.
And I'm really excited she's back because I love working. I was thinking this morning, I think she's one of my favourite people I've ever worked with.
Yep.
Not
In my
Xavier.
corporate world.
God, no.
God, no.
Didn't even make the top.
God, no.
I'm ranked 862
He
in
causes
that.
my anxiety. Yeah. But no, it's just so happy to have her back. She had a great break. She switched off as much as I could make her, which is great. And I'm just so excited to see her face today.
Great.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And,
Lots of
lovely.
people you work with.
And
She's
the
the
best place in
best.
the world to go and have a holiday. Go
I
on an
know.
African safari.
Yeah.
There's
I've
nothing
never
like it.
been, but it's made me
Oh,
want to
you
go.
have to do it. Everyone
with
has to.
Viv and
it
Craig.
It needs to be a bucket list thing. I've been spoiled. I grew up in doing
Yeah.
it, but it's a bucket list thing for everyone.
Yeah.
You have to do it.
Yeah. Well,
Right.
hopefully that's my ace of the week next week. That
And you
Craig
can.
is taking me on his family holiday
Yes.
to
Adopting you.
Africa.
Another kid to feed. Just keep Brie happy. No, and you can catch Viv Christie on The Sit Down,
Yeah.
one of our sister podcasts.
Back next week with Viv.
Very good. Well, yeah, it is good to see her back in the office. Razor, what about yourself? Been sitting there very quietly the last few minutes, just
That's because
listening
you've
to
been
Craig.
taking all the
Sorry,
oxygen.
I'm talking.
He has
No,
been
Craig
talking a
wouldn't
lot,
shut up.
doesn't he?
No, Craig
Craig was going
informative.
on and on.
No,
Informative.
you do talk a lot.
He
No, you were
does.
just towing the company line.
Well, we were supposed to share the questions.
Yeah, I gave you the first one.
Anyway.
Snooze.
My one was
Razor. Sorry, I forgot
coming
you were
back from Miami. Obviously, a long haul home, and just how exciting it is to see my 3 young kids again. And I made my debut I landed Tuesday morning, and Tuesday sort of lunchtime, early afternoon, my eldest had his first cross country. He's just started school this year. So
wow.
I've made my debut as a cross country parent, and I try to remain very
Did you
much
run?
in the...
Did you run as well?
No,
Give us
I
the
didn't. I
stats.
tried to be in the background, just observing.
You-
There were
you-
some
there's
days
no
I
way
were
you-
more
there's no
in
way
the
you were in the
foreground.
background.
I was in the background just observing, and he did well, my young fellow. I was very, very proud of him. But just lovely to be back with the kids again would be my highlight after being on the road for a couple of weeks.
Brilliant. I thought you were going to say 17 hours of complete bliss and quietness in the air. But no, actually
No,
landing
I
and
think
seeing
that's
them.
what you're sounding very much like Anna there, and I've been paying for it since landing with that type of mindset on the home front.
And you will
I'm
continue to do so.
Paying for that couple of weeks of
He was on a
solitude.
2-week holiday.
Yeah,
That's exactly. Don't you start. That's exactly right.
Hopped over and watched some tennis. Oh, how
I know.
bloody grueling.
We all get it. We all get it.
What about you, Craig? What's your ace of the week?
Mine was, I don't remember much past the last 24 hours. It's kind
That's
of
really concerning.
It is concerning. But that's what's good about my life. So if anything that happens historically, it never bothers me.
That's good. No wonder you're always
So
happy.
you just move on. You just move on. Live in the present and look forward to the future.
Right.
Forget about
So
the
nothing.
past.
Is anything good happening in the last 24
No,
hours?
yes, I think. Well, last night I was at a really cool function, and in this job involves a lot of going in stakeholder relationship building. But there was a 35-year celebration of the big group. So Bruce and
Chika.
Bruce
Yes.
and Chika Kiba, and it was a bit of a who's who of Melbourne in the event. But
Absolutely.
it was great to connect with everyone. But what was great is Eddie Maguire gave a speech and Bruce Kiba gave a speech, and they both did an unbelievable job around talking about Melbourne, the place we live, the city we live, and why it's so important to have major events, why it's so important to collaborate on major events, and why it's so important to invest in major events, what it means for the city. Eddie Maguire gave a story about Latrobe and how it all started back in 200 years ago or 150 years ago, and so it was just really cool to hear it. And then I love hearing stories of success, and Bruce and Chika Kiba came from pretty much working, as wait staff for Peter Rowlands to now building this multi-million-dollar business that's having a massive impact on people's lives. So it was cool to be there and then to connect with all the Melburnians. And it's just a good reminder. We're very lucky that we have the city we have and the people we have in the city we have. So
I saw a few pics on social. And it looked like a damn good night.
It was a good night.
Yeah.
It was a damn good night.
All right, well, I'll finish my ace of the week. I had a few to choose from, but I've decided to go with this one. Has anyone ever added the wrong person to a group text chat?
Yeah, you once.
Yeah, exactly. That's right. You walked back from that one pretty well. It was good. It was good. The photo was not appreciated, but I will say, so in the States at the moment, Michael Waltz, who's the National Security Advisor, it's probably been in everyone's ears and on the news, added the editor of The Atlantic, a news magazine in America, to a pretty contentious group chat with the vice president, the head of the CIA, the FBI, all these things, talking about, war plans and all these things. And there's a journalist sitting there going, this can't be true. This
Did you
can't
see
be
he's
real.
just leaked the messages too?
Yeah, because the whole...
over the past 24 hours.
Yeah.
Because they were saying there was nothing
There was nothing
sensitive in there.
What are you
Then he's
talking
like,
about?
no, hang on.
It's like, actually, here's the timeline of that invasion that you were planning. And it just got me thinking about all the texts that you've sent to the wrong person. Like, I'll be talking to you about Brie, but then I'll send the message to Brie. And,
not
part of me
ideal.
feels for them. But also, if you've got a big, important job, just be careful. So that's words for you, Craig.
Thanks
Just
for
be
the
careful who
advice.
you're
I will not
texting.
listen to one word of it, but thank you for it.
That's all right. You rarely do listen to me. All right. Well, thank you very much, everyone, for being a part of our show today. And Pratty for dropping in earlier that Craig, you stole his seat. So thanks for doing that. Join us again next week as we hit the clay. Nick McCarver will be joining us from the WTA 500 in Charleston. And in the meantime, don't forget you can watch this episode and every episode of The Tennis on the Australian Open YouTube channel. Hit like and subscribe. Make sure you never miss a notification. It's not just the pod. There's heaps of other tennis content there. Thank you very much, team. Have a great week in tennis. See you in
Good.
7 days.
Thanks,
Thank
Ace.
you.
Thanks,
Bye.
Craig. Thanks, Craig.